let's talk about the trans representation in the media. So Ricky Gervais got himself in hot water, and I love Ricky Gervais, and I must admit,
It's funny.
it's funny, and I found this bit funny, and that's why I want to learn. I found the whole Caitlyn Jenner, Bruce Jenner thing funny. I actually found that funny. I didn't know any trans people, so maybe if I'd had like a connection with yourself or
Yeah.
other people I'm now friends with, maybe I'd have felt a bit different about it. And I like his take on people finding offence with certain things. I like how a joke's a joke, and people can take offence from the joke. And he got some really interesting stuff about the power of speech.
Yeah.
But with this, I wanted to see how this made you feel, and how, I know you can't talk for the whole trans community, but something he got in hot water in the Golden Globe 3 years back by making jokes about Caitlyn Jenner, obviously previously known as Bruce Jenner. Like, what does that do to the community? And then he backed the jokes up at another Golden Globes, I think, on his own stand up. He went in again. What did you feel when you heard those kind of jokes? What does it do to people like yourself and the community?
The thing is, if there weren't such dangerous and vile views on trans people, and if there weren't such clumsy representations over the years of trans people, it wouldn't have as much of an impact. So, like, in my opinion, a comedian's going to go for everything in the world. That's what they do.
It's fair game.
So, like, just like in a prison for me, if someone's going to call me a tranny, I'll just come back to you with something else, because I'm in that environment where people will go for my weakness. So whether it's your slag, your dyke, whatever, they're going to come at you with something. If I then every time go and put a complaint in and go, nick him because he's called me this, no. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to get anywhere. So I might as well just give it you back, because it's just going to drain me more. But in terms of comedians like that, the problem is, because there has been so much clumsy representation in the media over the years, where people hear the word transgender and they automatically think man in a dress. Because over years it's always been the prostitute who gets murdered, who's the trans woman, or the obvious big burly man in a dress, who's the trans woman. If there weren't such clumsy representations, and it was represented in a good way, and there was that really good representation, and there weren't such backlash of it, people wouldn't get so hurt by something like that. I don't know the joke, so I don't know how to answer, because I don't know what he said. But that's why I think there's an impact, because we're still working towards acceptance and safety and changing people's mindsets, and it probably feels like, oh my God, you don't understand that that's probably going to cause someone else to think that, and then it'll cause someone else to get attacked or murdered or whatever. So that's the thing. It's the safety and the acceptance thing, if that makes sense. Does it?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
So, but for me, I agree. Like, a joke's a joke. If you're making a joke, unless it's personal, like really personal, I don't know the joke. But if you're making a joke about,
he's basically just saying Caitlyn Jenner. He's quite clever, Ricky Gervais. He's basically just alluding to her former life as Bruce Jenner and saying, no, he was a man. He had big testicles and this, that, and the other. And yeah, he's very clever what he does, because he does it in a way where he's like, is it called dead naming? Or,
right? Yeah.
I think he did. Yeah, so he referred to her, and I think he did it initially as an accident. He's like, oh no, Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner, and maybe there's a little joke in there, but it's quite subtle. And then he got so much hate. Yeah, I guess he was like, oh, F you, and he went on a big whole thing about it.
Well, see, I like Ricky Gervais. He's funny. Like, I don't hate someone based on a joke or an opinion or whatever, because these things can change and you can always educate someone, and it's not always malicious. The thing with dead naming, so that's a term that some people who transition do see that person as dead. They don't like being associated with the name. They do, ask their family to delete all memory and delete all of this. And for me, it's not the case. And for me, I really struggle with it, because it's part of you and it's part of everything, and it's really, really hard. But say if he was doing that, because Caitlyn Jenner, she's come out with a load of other shit about, we shouldn't be educating children and we shouldn't do that. So there's always, like, she's got her opinion and he's got his opinion on something. But from what you're telling me, he made a joke. He made a joke. If he then sort of carried on, if Caitlyn Jenner said like, "I really don't appreciate that," or whatever, and then you would carry on, well, then it's probably transphobic, isn't it?
Yeah.
But because I don't know the context of it, in my opinion, comedians are going to go for everything.
Of course.
So it's fair game. But it's because I think of there's not enough representation yet. There's not enough safety. There's not enough acceptance that then causes the fear and the uproar. Because say a kid watches Ricky Gervais say that and go, "Oh well, I can go and say something in school now." It's the impact of the viewer, because trans people are probably more in danger than they have been for a long time. At the minute, the effect of, say, that joke having on someone who's then going to go into work or into school or whatever and think that's okay, then leads to more of that, which is dangerous.
Yeah. People like Piers Morgan.
Yeah.
He's come out, he said some really controversial stuff.
Yeah.
What is his opinion from the opinion of him from the trans community? How much has he set the trans community back?
See, I don't really tend to expose myself to listening to everyone's opinion, in all honesty. I won't ever sit and argue with someone. Like, I will never, ever try and justify my identity to anyone. Like, that's who I am. That's, in my opinion.
What if someone said to you, what if someone said to you, and maybe you've had it, you're not what you are. Like, you're not a man. You can't be. Like, you've still got this, you haven't got that. So like, what if someone said that to you and they're so staunchly a staunch advocate of saying that you're not a man?
Say, well, what's your opinion when it's your child? What's your opinion when it's your dead child or a live child? I'm happy. My family's happier than ever. I'm happier, stronger, mentally, emotionally, physically than I've ever been. What defines a man to you? A penis? Because that doesn't define a man to me. Do you know what I mean? I'm fine. Like, it'll hit you emotionally one day. You might put a load of hate on my Instagram every day, but in 5 years' time, you'll come back and thank me for what I've done, because it'll affect someone you love.
I've got tingles again, mate. You give me tingles again.
But that's the thing. I will never ever try and argue my identity, or I will always stick up. Something happened to me in Asda last night, actually. In reference to this, so I was in Asda, and I'm not someone who, like, this is all I talk about, and I always want an argument about it. Like, that's not who I am. Like, I forget I'm trans half the time, apart from everything I'm doing. Like, I'm just a happy person now. I was in Asda.
That's so cool, by the way. That's such a success story. You forget you are. You mean this is your job.
Yeah, like that's how it should be, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
It's not. It's just part of my journey. It's not all that I am.
I don't go around like wearing a mixed race on my sleeve.
Yeah, exactly.
I am. I just live my life, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So I was in Asda picking some, like, trying to look for something on this shelf, and I was next to these two girls. They must have only been about 16, 17, and they had I think maybe a 2-year-old little girl in a pram with them. And this girl, I'm guessing she was talking about like college or something like that. And she was saying to the girl, "Well, he kept calling me gay." Talking about something like someone had said that to her in a derogatory way. He kept calling me gay. So you know what I called him? I called him a transgender. So I'm like, they're like right here, and I'm just listening like on the shelf. And usually I'd just be like, whatever, it wouldn't really affect me. And I'm just listening to them talk. I think you're right. And then I was about to walk off, and then I thought, I'd just come from a funeral where I'd seen like about 4 people, loads of people who I'd not seen in years. And within 5 minutes of being in the pub, about 4 people had come up to me and been like, "I absolutely love what you're doing. Like, I follow you, everything that you do. Like, it's so inspirational. Please keep doing what you're doing. Like, it's fantastic. You're saving lives. You're doing this." So I'd had all these amazing conversations, and I'm listening to this. And I'm thinking, right. And it's not massive, whatever they were doing. It's a completely thoughtless conversation that they're having. But then I thought about the little girl in the pram. And I thought, actually, it's my duty, and I owe it to that little girl to try and change your mindset.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I just go and have a go at you, which I would never have done, it's just going to make them think, who's this dickhead?
Yeah.
So I just walked back past them. I went, "Girls, can I just ask you a question?" And they both just like looked at me, and I went, you know this little girl in your pram? I said, if she grows up and like says to one of you, I feel like I might be gay, or I feel like I might be transgender, what are you going to say? And this girl just like looked at me in horror and was like, oh, well, yeah, I did say that, but it was a joke. It was a joke. I said, listen, whatever. I said, if you was, whether it was derogatory or you were saying it in an offensive way or whatever you were saying, just think about who's listening. And I just walked off. And I rang my sister after it and I was like, I don't know if I've just done the right thing there, because I wouldn't usually do that. But it just didn't sit right with me. And I just thought, I've got to try and hit your emotion here so that you take this home, because that's what I feel for. I feel for the people around the people having these stupid conversations, because then you're the person who they are never going to feel safe coming to. And instead, they're going to suppress the feelings. Instead, they're going to commit suicide. Instead, they're going to self-harm. Instead, they're going to try and live a life that they're not happy in for years. Instead of feeling safe and loved and accepted enough by their parents or their sisters or their friends or their colleagues to go, this is who I am, and live their own truth.
Wonderful. Wonderfully said, mate.